It's time to face reality. It's time to pay the piper. It is time to watch this video as well, because we're talking about this video. If you're a content creator, you need to use Notion. That's not optional. That's not something that you choose. The Content Creator Alliance, which is something that I totally made up, will kick you out and also murder you, which is less important, if you don't use Notion as a content creator. I know, it's not fair. Some apps are better than Notion in certain things. I know, but this is the reality. You have to use Notion. And to help you use Notion, luckily you have me, your very own Jordan Parker, which is not your own, it's mine, but anyway. And I will help you by showing you examples of what you can do in Notion and how you can organize your business in Notion. Not just a stupid content calendar. None of my examples will be content calendar, because your content should be scheduled in some app specialized at scheduling content that can also post the content. Not in Notion. That makes no sense. We want to use Notion for stuff that Notion is good at, and I'm going to show you several examples from my very own business. I think there's like 7 of them that will help you do exactly that. Use those for inspiration, copy everything you like, and just do it yourself as well. It's gonna be amazing. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jordan Parker. I worked as an engineer for 15 years. I have built applications like Notion, not only used them, and I know how to organize information and analyze data better than most people you've seen, because I've just done it for so long. So I might be a good source of knowledge for how you should organize things. Maybe. Let's get to Notion. Number 1, we have dashboards. Everyone likes dashboards, and I barely use dashboards. You can see that we did some planning with my colleagues. We used the LeapDAO as the dream client, the ideal client, and we did a bunch of, brain work. No one ever opens this page, because people don't really need a dashboard. People need to act in a certain way, and if you want to act in a certain way, then you need, action-oriented stuff. It shouldn't be pretty, it should be functional. And for example, as you can see with my tasks, it is super boring in terms of looks. It's a 1-column layout. It doesn't have all the charts at the top. It simply has a bunch of goals and a bunch of tasks. That's it. That is everything it contains. And there is a bunch of statistics at the bottom, which I added for testing and we barely use. Sometimes, you can look at those, but those are secondary. The main thing here is we want to manage tasks. We want to manage projects. And if you look at the projects view, similar stuff, Again, it is organized in a way that makes sense for tasks and projects. And obviously, if we are talking about Notion, Notion is amazing when it comes to displaying information. For example, this thing here that I cannot hide, it perfectly hides the name that I care about, but I can't turn it off because of reasons. You need to use this full screen, and then you can actually see it. It can be useful. Tasks and projects are the first thing. Obviously, you can do your task and project management here. I choose to do it in Notion, not because Notion is particularly good at that. Notion is okay at best at managing tasks, but Notion is where all of my data is. So that means that I can tag everything and connect everything, which means that if I have a task that talks about a document, for example, I can actually show that document, and that can be very handy. So for example, I don't like using Google Docs for many things. I use Notion instead, because Notion is simply better. It allows you to embed stuff, so you can put links and buttons and all that kind of fancy, jazzy stuff. And also, it is just modern and useful, unlike Google Docs, which I don't like, because they are not great. Anyway, we can do documents here, and documents, you just need a simple database. If you have a bunch of something, you put it in a database in Notion. That's how it works. So here we can have documents. You can also have a wiki if you prefer that format. I prefer documents. They make a lot of sense. And of course, you can also create a special place for your recents and do a bunch of stuff for organizations. But in general, just a list of documents works really well. Next, let's do something more interesting. I have a content template that I need to redesign, but here we start with something that's more important than the actual content, because I used to plan my weekly newsletters here, which I don't do anymore. I write daily emails and I don't plan them as much, but there is something that's actually still very valuable here, which is ideas. Storing your ideas in Notion is exceptionally useful, and with the new batch of automations that came in, this is actually very useful, because when I made this thing initially, you could store your ideas, but if you wanted to make a piece of content based on some idea, if I wanted to make a document based on an idea, if I wanted to start a project based on the idea, every part of those things I was supposed to do manually. Right now you can connect the button, I can press the button, and this idea can directly get scheduled as a draft in Typefully, which is what I use to publish my content. Or I can press a button and this idea can automatically create a project, and the idea itself can get archived. There is a lot of stuff you can do with the new button automations. A lot of my videos on my channel cover that. Go watch those if you care. And this thing is called the Idea Compass. I'll be updating it, but if you like this version, which is designed so I can sort through a bunch of ideas, I have a video about that somewhere, and it's free. You can get it. It's fine. But yeah, this can be very, very useful, storing your ideas, because the point of Notion for me is remembering information and structuring information. I don't want an AI to organize my information for me, because my information should be organized the way I think, not the way AI thinks, but I want all of my information to be in one spot, and sure, I can probably use AI to go through it, although I canceled my Notion AI because no one on the team was using it, and I'm using mostly code anyway. So, ideas in Notion, a very, very useful thing, very cool idea. Next, bookmarks, resources, ChatGPT prompts, whatever you want. You can have a fancy long list that's characterized, tagged, and has a lot of stuff in it, but this is actually very useful. To do this, I use an extension called Save to Notion. It works in Chromium browsers. This thing, you can configure it and it can basically grab a bunch of stuff from the page and just insert it inside of wherever you care. Okay. Next, after we have our resources, here you can have different types of resources. In my case, I was kind of lazy about it and I just slapped everything in a single database. That's not what you want to do. That's not the best option to do it. But for example, you can create one database for AI prompts. You can have another database for your bookmarks. You can have another database for something else. It's fine. And here, again, a lot of those automations also work. Like, for example, right now, what I can do here is I can create a button that actually opens the website. This is something that wasn't possible before, but now is, and that can be very, very handy, which I haven't done for some reason. This is a very cool idea. Next, those are kind of the main things, and the assets is just a bunch of paid resources that I give to clients, so you won't get to take a peek in those. You can have a CRM. A CRM, I will just open up a CRM from the public templates library. Mine is filled with personal information, so we won't look at that, but it's simple as well, so it doesn't really matter. And I also have a video explaining how to create a CRM. But whatever CRM you pick, you can use that CRM to kind of organize the people in your pipeline. And the way you do this, because as a creator, you should be selling something, because sales is where you make your own money and you don't depend on an algorithm, and where you can build a business and not just play the content game, which is far more fun because you're actually free. It's awesome. So, a CRM is useful because when it comes to sales, a lot of sales can take a little bit of time. People can need their time and energy to decide, and using a CRM, you can kind of organize this and help them through the process, because it's not necessarily super easy. Like, people have a lot on their plate, people have a bunch of things happening, and they can forget. With a CRM, you can help them not forget and actually buy whatever you're selling them. So this is also excellent. I also structure things in two separate spots. So number one, we have the team space. This is my company's team space. Everyone on the team has access to the team space. And number two, we have my private pages. My private pages, I'm not really using them. You can see that I built this CRM. This is just for one video that I made. I need to publish this and fancy it up a little bit. And I have a hub with a bunch of stuff that I downloaded and I was too lazy to organize. That's also useful to have, like just a brain dump place. I used to have this place called my inbox. Right now, I use my tasks and just create a task on my phone. This is, by the way, one of the reasons why this is so effective when it's a one-column layout. If it's a one-column layout, it just works so much better because on your phone, it's actually usable. If you have 17 columns, a super sexy dashboard, doesn't work on your phone, making it useless for every time you're not at your computer, which depending on you might be a lot of the time. Next, we have the topics. The topics are probably the best place and my favorite place of this. I have a video covering those in depth if you want to copy them, but this is actually amazing because what I did is I organized the different parts of my business and just general life in different categories, and I started filling those in with all the information I have. And what that does is that creates me a singular place for where I can look for information on different topics, which is very handy. And that's why they're called topics, because they're just a bunch of info about a bunch of things. But I also use them as tags. So every time I have something related to email marketing, I will add the email marketing topic to it. And what that creates, for example, is I can basically see what resources it's connected to, what other topics, like it's just connected to every part of my system, which means that if I want to talk about email marketing, I can quickly find a bunch of other things interesting and related to email marketing and start from there and basically build from that point on and find everything that I need in one spot. So this is kind of the glue between every one of my components, because my projects can have a topic, my docs can have a topic, my tasks and projects, everything is connected to those topics, which makes them a very good central point for absolutely everything. So what do you do as a creator? First of all, I would organize all of my information. I would make a database that contains a bunch of documents, topics, or whatever you want, but you want to write everything down. The more of your day-to-day life you have documented, the more of your work you have documented, the better you can give it to other people, the easier you can expand your team, and the easier you can improve and track your processes. So I would start there. Step number 2 is, once I have that in one spot, so in Notion, I would create my tasks in Notion as well, or I would connect my tasks in Notion using some sort of automation, so my progress and my day-to-day activities are tracked. I can look at them, I can use the data. Data is critical for any business. You want to learn to embrace it and use it. And finally, once I have my information and I have my tasks, everything else comes in. Every other thing that can enrich this process can come in as well. So that can mean additional data in terms of bookmarks or documents or whatever else you want, and then dashboards or team hubs or whatever else to actually streamline the process and make it easier for you to execute. That's it for this video. I hope it was useful.